Ladies and gentlemen, Ewan McGregor.
Yeah! Hello there! There he is! There he is! Hello there!
Guys, thank you so very much for the escort. You have done a great job. True Jedi Masters, a lot of you. Thank you so very much. Guys, he's here!
Hello there!
I saw so many people leaving as I was coming over here. I thought there maybe be about 5 people in here, but no.
You were the reason why we are here, sir.
Well, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. I'm so hoarse having met you all over the last 2 days. I can hardly speak.
That's all right. That's all right. You just look at us. That's all we need. That's it. First and foremost.
Well,
hello
it's nice
there.
to see you all.
Absolutely. No. I mean, they are the reason why we're here. Welcome to Fan Expo Chicago. Before we jump into all of the things, obviously, with this being Fan Expo, fans are what come first. And I got to know, what are you a super fan of? Is it comics? Is it sci-fi? What's your jam?
Oh, interesting. I'm a fan. I mean, my only sort of fanatical. I was a fan of Oasis back in the 90s.
Let's go.
Really, embarrassingly, I had a sort of teenage fan crush on Oasis when I was in my mid to late 20s with it. I was a father, and it was embarrassing. And people would come for dinner, and it would always end up with like, watch this Oasis video and listen to this album and this deep cut. You know, it was embarrassing. So Oasis, and then nowadays I think. The only sort of fanatical, I love watching the motorcycle racing, the MotoGP, and that's the one thing that I like to, it's the only sort of sport type passion that I have. And yeah, so those would be the 2 things.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oasis and motorcycles.
Yeah.
It fits. It fits. I love it. You joined this franchise late 90s to, really kick off the prequel series. And completing that, you've had fans, I know, begging for you to come back. And you finally do for Obi-Wan. Which apparently a lot of people in this room have watched. Like, a lot, which is fantastic. What was it like to come back on that first day, to put back on this character that you really kind of made your own?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was such a long process. When we made the prequels, there was no, first of all, that video was really touching. I thought that was really lovely, watching the people talking about how, that's what's lovely about doing these cons, is that I get such a strong sense of how important these movies are to you, and therefore it makes them more important to me in a way. And so I thought that was really lovely to watch that special video before we came out here. Oh, love you too.
We love you!
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, so it was a long process. When we made the prequels, we made them in a time there was no social media, there was no internet. I don't think there was any internet yet. Can you imagine? I tell you what, guys, it was so good. It was so nice.
Yes.
We had it made, and then Apple ruined it with their stupid phone, and now we're all screwed. Anyway,
The Force Ghost of Steve Jobs is going to show up on it.
yeah, thanks, Steve. Nice one. But there was no even internet. So then there was, and then there was social media, and then there was this sort of. I did social media for a little time. I was reluctant at first, and then I sort of came on for a wee bit. And then I left because there was, it got nasty, so I left. But in the meantime, I kept seeing all this. I didn't realize that you were all sort of waiting for more. I didn't know. But I kept seeing it all the time. And then when I did do social media, lots of messages about Obi-Wan, and will you do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And it was getting to be sort of embarrassing. I felt like, so I got in touch with, about that time, Lucasfilm was with Disney, and I got in touch with Disney and said, I think I better come in. And, because people had been asking, and I was like, and also in interviews, every interview I did ended with two questions. Would you ever do Trainspotting sequel? We hadn't done that yet, and we did do that, but we hadn't done that yet. And then the last question was always, and would you play Obi-Wan Kenobi again, you know? And I kept saying, yeah, I'd be totally up for it. But it was asked so often, and it was out there so much, it looked a bit like I was sort of trying to get the job. Previously, you know, I was like, so I got in touch with them, I said, look, you better let me come in. So I went in and I just said, just so you know, I do mean it. Like I would totally be up for it. And they were like, okay, we are happy to hear that. And then we started talking, and that's where this series came from, you know. And then it became a TV series. It was going to be a movie at first, and it was with a director who then went off to do something else, and then it ended up with Deborah, and I loved working with her. She's so great.
Make some noise for Deborah Chow.
Absolutely brilliant. And so we were lucky to work with her. And then it became I think because they brought out Disney Plus, you know, they wanted a big sort of splash, and I thought that's what we were going to be. And then just before they brought out The Mandalorian, I was like, wait a minute. I thought we were supposed to be the big splash. Wait a minute, what's this? What's this going on here? But there seemed to be plenty of room for all of us, it seems.
Absolutely.
And that's what
in our hearts, for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously you brought up Deborah. What was the difference, or one of the biggest differences between her directorial style versus George's?
Well, what I loved about it, I loved that first of all, she directed all of them.
Yes.
And that's quite unusual in a television series, but it was really key in this because the whole series had her vision behind it. Well, I don't know. I would never compare two directors. It wouldn't be, you know, every director is completely unique and everybody comes at it from a different way. I think also the time was very, very different. When we made the Phantom Menace on film, you know, in Britain, and we made the second one in Australia, and it was the first digital cameras. You know, we had cameras that had huge cables coming out the back of them that led all the way over to a sort of tented area over here on the side of the stage. That was all the hard drives where the digital image would be collected, and it hummed. Like it literally was like over in the corner. It was like we'd gone back in time, you know. Suddenly the cameras we couldn't move them as easily. It was like, but George was pioneering, you know, what we all only shoot on. Now you've got to fight hard to shoot on film these days. But he pioneered that, and so we were at the cutting edge of that. And so when we did the series years later, and we had the volume, you know, the 300-degree wraparound. It's like a huge screen. It's difficult to explain what it is. Maybe you all know what it is, but you know, it projects the background, so it's not like blue screen or green screen, which, you know, I've spoken ad nauseum about how hard that was on the prequels. This is actually, you could see it. You know, there'd be like little digital people walking around in the background. And as you move the camera, it changed the perspective of the screen. So wherever the camera moved, it corrected itself. It's a beautiful piece of technology. It's still somewhat restrictive in that you only have this small area to act in. So it's not like the be all and end all. I think with Andor they decided not to use it, and they used real locations, and I think that gave Andor the sort of something special that I think they're. So I think maybe it was of its time, the volume, but we had that different technique, you know, a different technology that Deborah was using that George didn't have at his fingertips. You know.
I love that. Make some noise for that, y'all. That's fantastic. I also got to acknowledge, so you watched Andor as well, yes?
Yeah, just recently I watched. I missed it when it came out, and I don't know. I always come to things late. That's just the way I am. If everybody's talking about something, I'm like, yeah, I'll see that later, you know. And then when I watch it, you know, a year later, I'm like, this is really good. And everyone's like, yeah. That's what we were all saying a year ago. But I watched Andor, and I watched the first episode of it at home with my little boy. And then I realized what everyone was talking about. And then watched all of the whole of the first season and all of the second season just on my own without him, because I couldn't wait to get through it all, you know. He watched bits of it with me, but I thought it was great. I really liked it, and then I got really excited. I was thinking, I think I'm in this timeline. I think I could be in season 3. I got super excited, and then I realized, oh no! There can't be a season 3, you know. So anyway, but I could have, maybe if there was, I could have squeezed in there, you know.
If only.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's always a chance that maybe there's a story that's happening at the same time where it kind of crosses over. So there's always a chance. If Disney is listening hypothetically.
Come on, Disney.
Yeah!
What are we waiting for?
Right.
Let's go! What are we doing?
This is the story you're waiting for.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with all the tech, there's a lot of things that, you know, can go wrong, but there's a lot of practical effects, especially with lightsaber fighting, that happens. Can you tell us about any sort of bloopers, little accidents that may or may not have happened in the midst of your physicality with either the prequels or Obi-Wan?
I don't know if there's any, I can't remember if there's any behind the scenes footage of it, but when Hayden and I would fight together, and, you know, in the prequels, the lightsabers were metal. There was the sort of the beautiful lightsaber handles that would hang on our belts, and then there was a very smooth version of those for when we were actually fighting. Because if you spun one of those in your hands, you'd cut yourself, and they were impossible to fight with. They were just dress handles, those ones. So the actual oh, here's maybe one down here.
Hey.
So there were smooth versions like this one that didn't have any detail on, but you could spin them around in your hands, and then they had a metal blade on it. It was some kind of alloy. It was hollow, which made the end of it was just like if you imagine sawing through a copper pipe or something. The end of it was like that. That's quite dangerous. So that, and then we would go at each other. Like,
right.
I mean, you properly. The only way to really do that, you learn the fights like a dance, like a piece of choreography. You know exactly. You should know exactly. You know, you're not improvising. You shouldn't be improvising because you could really hurt each other.
Absolutely.
So you learn it slowly, and you learn section by section by section, and then you start putting the sections together, and then you start trying to. They just sort of naturally speed up until, you know, you're doing them really fast. Like the Ray Park scene, fight scene after Qui-Gon gets killed was like George was. There's a way that if you overcrank the camera, if you undercrank. Hang on. To make something slow motion, you speed the camera up, right? So he was slowing the camera. We were going so fast that he was like, people won't believe this, so he was like slowing it down a bit, you know, as we were doing it, because we just learned it so well, you know, and we went at it so hard. But with Hayden and I, with the metal blades would be totally bent after one take. So we would do one take of the fight, and sometimes they were long takes, it would be a long bit of the fight, but by the end of it, the lightsabers, you know, it looked like a question mark sometimes. The hell, there was one guy whose job, I wish I knew his name, I can't remember. Who? Thomas! Oh my God, I'm glad you know.
That's the photo button a couple of times when he's up there.
Is Thomas the lightsaber maker? Yes. Oh, you all know this. You see, I don't know why I'm even here. You know more about it than I do. Thomas would wheel his cart from stage to stage with just millions of lightsaber blades and remake them after every take. So we'd be handed sort of a fresh sword after each take. Thomas, yeah, of course. I don't know Thomas. What's his second name?
Do you guys not know
Hansen.
that?
Thomas Hansen.
Yes.
Oh, there we are.
Okay.
Maybe she made the Hansen bit up.
sounds real.
Now,
Sounds good enough.
it does sound good.
Thomas Edison.
Yeah. That guy. No. So with these fightings, I mean, obviously the intensity was high. Was there ever a time where maybe you mistimed a swing and maybe hit your?
Oh, yes, all the time. I mean, I also think George Lucas in his wisdom decided that these swords, they were so good, the Jedis, they didn't need a hilt. You know, if you look at any sword in history, it's got a look, well, that's not true because the samurai didn't have it, did they? But they probably had a little bit like this. We had nothing. Like that sword would slide down and wrap your knuckles. And that was the main injury was knuckle wraps. You'd be like, oh. You know, you'd be all butch in front of the camera, and the second they were in cold cut, you'd be like, so there was that. I don't remember if anyone got, oh, I tell you, somebody got really hurt. Nash Edgerton, my stunt double, who I met in Australia doing Moulin Rouge, which was shot just before. He was my stunt double in for some years in Star Wars, and he did hurt himself. His mum was on set to visit, and he was doing, you know, the fight in the rain with there's a fight in the rain with Django. Thank you. Okay, just give me a second, I'll get there. Thomas.
Been busy all weekend, guys.
Django Fett. Okay. I'll get there. Thanks, I wouldn't have got there. And he did I had to do a big backflip, and he landed and he broke his teeth. And he was like, he was so aware that his mum was there that he was just like, "Morning, mum." Okay. And somebody took his mum for a cup of tea, and he was not all right. You know, he really hurt himself.
Wow.
But I don't remember any nasty lightsaber injuries,
Okay.
luckily.
That's good. That's good. No.
And Nash is fine now. He's got lovely teeth.
Yay! Make some noise for Nash.
Nash Edgerton. He's brilliant. He became a very good filmmaker, and his brother Joel Edgerton is a very successful actor. So, yeah, they're cool brothers.
Awesome. Now, obviously, you brought up a couple of things, Moulin Rouge, you brought up Train Spotting. We're big fans of all of your work, not just of the Star Wars franchise. So,
Don't change it.
can you tell us any hints about anything that might be coming up that's not Star Wars? We don't want any issues with Disney, that you might have on the horizon.
I did a film with Anne Hathaway called Flowervale Street. God bless you. It's got to be my age, isn't it? Or just my age, I think.
It's just been a long weekend.
My wife's not here. Usually my wife's like, Flowervale Street.
It's been a long weekend, yeah.
She just whispers names that she knows I'm about to forget, you know, into my ears. I don't have her here to remind me. Flowervale Street.
There we go.
So that'll be an interesting film to see.
Excellent.
I won't tell you anything about it because it will spoil the surprise,
Thank
but it's
you.
going to be fun, that one. And then I haven't done it. I did a play in London recently. Thank you. And I love that, but I haven't made anything since Flowervale, which was last spring, you know. Somebody give me a job. Oh, God's sake. Come on, Disney.
You know?
Season 2, for goodness sake. Go. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for?
All right, so listen. Everybody, I need y'all to go on the social medias we were talking about, and it's hashtag Obi-Wan another, okay? That's what it is, okay? Hashtag it right now.
That's right.
Any chance that you're gonna do any more of your motorcycle showcase?
Yes. We just did our fourth trip, Charlie and I, called Long Way Home, which is on the telly now. You can see it. And they've always spaced them out. There's always there are a lot to do.
Yes.
And it's like it's an odd one. Like when I get a film and I go away and I film it, you're totally like. So that's my job, and I can, you know, I'm sort of, I've got used to going away from my family to do my job, and sometimes they can come with me, and sometimes not, I guess. But the bike trips it's difficult. That's sort of that's on me, you know. It's a job in that we get paid to do it, I suppose, but we decide to do it, and So that one, I don't like to do them too close together because it's a lot of time away from my family, which I don't love. So, but we'll definitely do some more. We'll definitely do another one. We're not finished, Charlie.
Oh wait, that's what we want to hear. I love it. We've got some fan questions that were turned in, and this one is from Megan. Is Megan in the room? Do we have a Megan in the room? Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that. Megan wants to know, what part of Obi-Wan's personality do you most relate to in your own life?
Ooh. Well, I can be a little by the book like him. I can be a little bit like fastidious about things, you know, doing things doing things the way you're supposed to do them, right. I suppose. Could be a bit like that. I'm definitely a father. I've been a father since I was 24. I've been a father I'm blessed to be a father to 5 children.
Hey.
So there's a sort of a paternal side to Obi-Wan, especially with Hayden, you know, where I can be like that with my kids, you know. And then in the new series, I love taking him, playing him older, playing him closer to Alec Guinness's age, playing him. I loved playing him in the whole idea of taking this man we know as a capable general, you know, somebody you could completely rely on, and take him to a place where he's lost so much, you know, so many of his friends, and the ones that aren't gone are in hiding, and he's lost his faith, you know. Yeah. I thought that was really fascinating to start the story there, and I loved playing him in that way. So, and the part of that was just being older, and I am now barely today, several times quite old now.
That's more than fair. This one's from David. From the prequels, which action sequence was the most challenging to shoot, and why?
Oh, I don't know. It's lots of. I've always. I just love it so much what we do. You know that I don't ever feel that it's a challenge. I think the stuff in Tunisia was that we shot in the desert in Tunisia was hard because it was so hot. Like it was unbelievable. It was amazing. You'd be in the makeup bus, and then you'd just open the door to come out, and you'd step down the steps into the sand, and all your makeup would just go. Luckily, I was wearing mainly brown.
Yeah.
It didn't show up too much on my costume, but it was so hot. And then I suppose some of the underwater stuff would have been. That's always quite tricky because you go down and you got to hold your breath for sometimes a long time, and as soon as you've got to do that, your breath, somewhere in your brain, or at least for me, starts to go, you should probably breathe, you know. So you sort of immediately panic. You do like 5-second takes, and everyone in the crew's going, is that the best he can do? Right? So the underwater stuff, I can't remember any. I just remember seeing this. You've probably heard this story because you seem to have heard everything else. But the story when I was being shown round, when I got the job to play the role, and I was being shown around by George at Leavesden, the film studio, and they were making. He took me to all the different departments, and they were making the submarine that I go in with Liam and Ahmed, and they. What?
He was giving the real name, guys.
Yeah, Ahmed played Jar Jar. Ahmed Best, and so we were. I was looking at the submarine that they were carving out of polystyrene, and I had a little glass, and I said to George, will we go under? And he looked at me and went, what? I said, will we go underwater in the submarine? And he went, there's none of it real, you know. And a small part of me died. You know, a little boy in me was like, oh, anyway. It really was not a good idea to put 3 actors underwater in a polystyrene submarine, you know what I mean?
I can see it going badly.
It could go badly.
He's very smart, This is from Laura from Madison, Wisconsin. You've worked in huge franchises, intimate dramas, and musicals. How do you adapt your performance style for such different worlds and tones?
I think you just always do. That's sort of what you do as an actor. From project to project, they're always unique, and you don't sort of go. You don't do like a musical performance or you're just always trying to find the truth of what you're doing. You have a character that you have to embody, and you have words that the writer's given you on the page, and then you have the world that the director is creating, and the combination of you combine all those three things to come up with your performance. Mm-hmm. So it's always unique. It's always. It should be anyway. I mean, for me, that's what I think our job is, and so I'm lucky that I've had the chance to do a lot of different kinds of things: small movies, big movies, musicals, and TV shows and plays, and I love the variety of it. To be honest,
absolutely. I think we're the lucky ones though, because we get to experience what you bring to those roles, and it's absolutely fabulous.
No, that's nice. Thank you.
Ooh, this one's a tough one. This one's from Sophie. Sophie wants to know, if you could swap roles with any other Star Wars actor for one day, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's good. Well. Oh, it's really hard. It would be from the original trilogy.
Okay.
It would have to be Luke or Han Solo. I mean, just so I get to work with Carrie, I think. That would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so lucky to know her. I met her after I'd made the first one, and we had that in common. We had Star Wars in common, and she was so funny and she was so brilliant, and I became I loved her so much as a child, and there I was meeting her in person, and we became quite good friends, and but what I never got to do was act with her, and I would have loved that very much.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the multiverse, maybe there's the chance.
Yeah, maybe.
This one is from Aaron from Oak Park. What was your favorite moment or scene to film in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series?
Well, it's all these are hard questions because I loved all of it. There was there was some really special moments. Like I got to play a scene with my daughter Esther.
Yes, yeah.
And that was so nice. That was so lovely to play that. It was some kind of meta moment with her, and that was really special to be on set with her. Was something new for me, and I loved it. I loved to see how professional she was about it, and how I tried to just step back, and I did. I watched her with Deborah and them chatting about what she was going to do, and I was just like so proud, so proud. It was so nice. So that was good, but I was just lucky to work with great actors in that series, and I got to play. I mean, some of the things that I'd never done before was I played scenes with stormtroopers.
Right.
And because there hadn't. I'm right? There weren't stormtroopers.
It's correct. Good job, y'all. Come on. He's on. He's got it.
So I remember. I knew that. I was just joking. I remember the first day I had to be in a back of a truck with Vivian, and the stormtroopers were there, and I remember just because it just takes you back to the child in yourself, and so that was kind of a moment, and I loved working with stormtroopers. I hadn't done that before. And then I worked with a lot of them. It seems by the end, hundreds of them. And then, of course, fighting Darth Vader, And we got ready.
Yeah!
We got ready to do. We rehearsed for a long time, and Hayden and I rehearsed, and there's a fighter, Vader as well, and so we all rehearsed these fights a lot with a brilliant fight coordinator, Jojo, and it was just the best fun. The physical training for the series was amazing, and I was older, and so it's harder to begin with. But then I could feel it come back. I could feel it coming back, and so we'd done these fights a lot. But of course, we just did them in the gym. We hadn't done them. So it was the first fight with Vader was in episode 3, I think, in this big sort of it was like a quarry or something in LA. What?
A field. It's like a field.
A field.
Yeah, we shot it in this sort of quarry, like it was like a cement works or something in LA. So it was a night shoot, and it looked so cool with the lights and everything. And so we rehearsed it a bit, and then I was getting ready to do the first take, and then they were, you know, we were all ready. I was busy in my own thoughts, and then I had to be walking away, and Vader comes at me over my shoulder, and I turn around to defend a blow that he's coming to my head. And so they're like, action! And I just do the first take, and then I can hear him, and I hear my sort of cue, if you like, and I turn around, and it's Vader coming at me, and I had never seen it. It just shot fear through me to my core. Like it was like I was 5 years old again, or 6 years old again, and this image of him coming at me with that helmet was dead eyes, you know. It was so cool and terrifying and fun.
Oh my God.
It was brilliant.
Amazing voice with that, y'all.
Yeah!
Oh, and another amazing moment was that I was on set. We're on this transporter. It's after we've escaped. I think it's I can't remember what episode. I'm doing a bit of a speech to try and rally the troops on this. All the sort of refugee people on the transporter that we're on.
Right.
And Mary calls me to say, I think I'm going into labor. No. And I was like, okay. Okay. So I said to Deborah, Deborah, you better just shoot me. All of me. Do the shots on me.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
And so she went, I said, Mary's going into labor. So we did the wide stuff, we came in a bit closer, and we did some close-ups of me, and then I was like, every time we got a series of takes, I'd be on the phone, how's it going? How's it going? Yeah, it's definitely getting, they're coming closer together, you know. And Deborah got my close-up, and I went, okay guys, I'm out, got in my car, got home, and like a half an hour after I got home, we went to the hospital. We had our son. Wow. So they carried on shooting the other way on the crowd there, and which they took up the rest of the day. And the next day was Friday.
Right.
And so they just decided they'd given me, because we planned it, you know, they'd given me a week off, but it was the next week, so starting on the Monday. And I said, what if she's a week late? You know, they went, well, that's your week. And I was like, what? I could have got a week off before the week my son was born. But anyway, she was absolutely on a day or so early. And so they gave the crew the Friday off. Everyone got a 3-day weekend, and they were like, well, hey!
Good job. That's how you do it. That's the Jedi way.
That's how you do it.
Okay, so we got some lightning questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Real quick, just what your intuition is. Trust yourself. Favorite lightsaber color?
Blue.
There we go. Like it. Jedi robes or Mandalorian armor?
Oh yeah, I saw a little toy of me in a Mandalorian outfit. I was like, what am I doing in there? What? Did you see that? I signed it for somebody. Have you seen it? It's Obi-Wan in a sort of maroon Mando.
Clone Wars!
Is that from Clone Wars?
Yeah, Clone Wars!
Yeah, that's right.
He wasn't in the Clone Wars.
Why is he in the Mandalorian helmet?
He went to
undercover.
He went to save the Queen.
I had 2 blasters. Like Robert De Niro.
You saved the Queen.
Okay.
I saved the Queen.
You should know that.
Yes, I've seen that.
Best pilot, Han Solo or Anakin Skywalker?
Oh, you know the answer.
And what was
Anakin.
To go for a drink with, to best pilot.
Anakin.
No, I do like that. To go for a drink with. Who would you rather go for a drink with?
Anakin.
Han Solo or Anakin?
Anakin.
I mean, he's my brother, isn't he?
Han might shoot you. Who's messier, R2-D2 or 3PO?
Oh, 3PO is a disaster. He's always, he can't see a thing. He's always, you know, there's in the prequels, he's like there, like as a sort of, he's got trays with drinks and stuff. They're always like, he was always dropping and falling over. Yeah.
I Love it.
Anthony.
Which would you rather be? Really skilled with a lightsaber or really skilled with the Force?
They're the same thing. It's the same thing.
Well said.
Yes, that's it. One doesn't come without the other.
Would Obi-Wan be a cat person or a dog person?
Cat. Cats.
He'd be a dog person. Can you imagine him with like a basset hound or something? Come on.
Star Destroyer or Death Star?
Well, I quite like to be in a Star Destroyer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they'd be good fun to sort of explore. They're very pointy. You can go very fast in them probably. And they do that stop thing. Don't they?
They do.
Good breaks.
I'm so embarrassed about the Mandalorian thing.
Last one. Which would you rather? Join the rebellion or fight the Empire?
That's the same thing.
You trying to trick me?
Nope.
That's a trick question.
Join the rebellion.
Yep. Or fight for the Empire.
Oh, I thought you said fight the Empire.
No, fight for the Empire.
Yeah.
No, join. I am the rebellion.
Yeah, you are.
Hang on.
That might not have been the right answer. Wait.
Feel the stage.
You feel that? Ladies and gentlemen, guys, we're together again! Wait, before you go, we gotta get out here in front of the audience, give some love to all of them. Can we get a quick photo with you guys? Phones out, y'all! This is your moment!
Pictures. Come on, man.
Lightsaber spin!
Scoot up higher. Get a couple.
Wait, now you guys are in Hayden shot. Come on. Big hands, big hands. Oh, I love it. Now, they've been asking for a lightsaber spin from you two. Listen, I said...
He said he'll do it. Let's go.
Are you... Just a quick spin? Just a quick spin.
Let's go, Hayden. Let's go, baby. All right, so watch out.
Oh Lord. Here we go. Someone's getting cut in half. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in saying goodbye to Ewan McGregor. Ewan, thank you so very much for joining us. Absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayden is here.
Hello, everyone.
You should have had a lightsaber.
I love you! Asking each out, that is it. Dude, how has this weekend been treating you? Welcome to Chicago, of course.
Thank you.
How's things been for you?
This has been awesome. It's been so nice to get to be here and meet so many of you, and I just had a great time.
Absolutely.
Love
So,
Chosen
last
one.
Friday, I understand you got to throw out the first pitch.
For the
you too.
Cubs game.
Okay, so tell me, when you're up there, do you feel any pressure? Is there any fear or hatred?
No.
Okay.
No. I was hoping I was going to get to practice a little bit.
Okay.
They didn't really let me do that, but it still went well. I got it across the plate.
Hey! Of course you did. Of course you did. That was a force throw, without question.
And then I got to sing the taking me out to the ball game with my 10-year-old daughter, which was just so special to me. It was a nice father-daughter moment.
Dude, that's awesome.
I heard the Jets flew over.
And it was a cool jersey too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got it from that jersey. That was a dope one. When they revealed that one to you, what were your first thoughts?
Well, I'd asked for the 66.
Oh!
I knew
That makes it so much cooler. That makes it so much cooler. That is absolutely amazing. I love it.
I appreciate you.
So, obviously, Star Wars is a huge franchise, soon to celebrate 50 years. Is that amazing? That's amazing. And before you joined the franchise in the Delectable Episode 2, were you a fan of Star Wars?
Yeah, I was a big fan.
Talk to me.
Well, I have an older brother who's like 8.5 years my elder, and he was like the perfect age when the original trilogy came out. So when I was a little kid, he had all of the toys, and he had Star Wars bed sheets. So I was well versed in the Star Wars universe before I'd even seen the films.
Wow.
And I loved all the action figures and Darth Vader from a very early age definitely spoke to me.
Yeah.
Kind of serendipitous a little bit. I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
If you didn't have to pick Vader, who would you say was your favorite character?
I was always a big Boba Fett fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, there's something about a masked character that I really enjoy.
It's on par. I love it. Now we got to know, like, obviously to take this iconic role is huge. To get this iconic role is even bigger. What was it like when you got that call that you were going to play Anakin Skywalker?
What she said. It was just a very surreal thing. You know, I went through this sort of many months of sort of being in contention for it and meeting George Lucas and auditioning for it. And I never really once thought that I would actually get the part. So when they finally got that phone call, it came as a big surprise to me, and I was just beyond thrilled.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's a welcome gift to all of us as fans.
Yes, sir.
That you have brought this character to life. We absolutely adore it. As much as we're fans of Anakin and Vader, you have lived as him in multiple occasions. What do you think is the biggest piece of evolution of the Vader character, or from Anakin to Vader, that we as fans don't necessarily know yet?
I don't know that I understand the question.
Okay, that's
one more time.
What about him has changed the most, in your opinion, from when we first get introduced to him to his ultimate evolution as
I don't know that anything has really changed. I mean, from sort of what we established when we were doing the prequels, that was very much Anakin's story.
Absolutely.
It's been a real joy for me to get to come back to the character, because I feel like we're just sort of adding new color and sort of getting to explore different sides of the character and just kind of fleshing him out a little bit more. But who Anakin is was obviously established by George Lucas.
Wonderful.
And that remains consistent.
Absolutely. I love it. As an actor, has your approach to playing him changed?
I mean, just from the perspective that I've changed, I guess. I've had another 20 plus years of life that I can now bring to my work, and I feel in a lot of ways a stronger connection to Anakin, just because I can understand him that much more, and I've had all of these years to continue to think about him, and I just feel it's an amazing privilege to get to come back to Anakin and continue to play this character.
It's a gift to all of us, actually.
Yes, it is.
The sequels were a crazy, massive production, right? There's so many hands that went into making this whole project happen. Was there anyone in particular that like behind the scenes that either created like props or makeup or something that really kind of stood out to you with the work that they did?
I wasn't in the sequels.
The prequels.
The prequels, okay, yeah. I said the sequels.
It's been a
I was wondering where you were going in this question.
I meant prequels.
The prequels.
Prequels.
I'm sorry, and so what was the question?
So was there anybody in the crew that really kind of stood out to you?
From the crew?
Yeah.
So many people from the crew. I mean, kind of one of the unique things about working on a Star Wars project is that everyone is just so excited to be there, and George Lucas got the very best people, in each of their sort of respective fields to come and participate. The costume design, the set design. Thomas. That's right. Yeah, I love Thomas. He was our lightsaber maker. He had a very cool job. We hung out making lightsabers all day. And
In his workshop.
When we were making those films, the lightsabers were just like these metal rods. And so when Ewan and I are fighting, if we're really getting into it, the lightsabers after each take would get all warped and bent. And he would come and replace the blade for us and present us with a new saber each time. And Thomas is the GOAT. Yeah.
Hayden's the GOAT.
Oh, very sweet. Thank you.
So speaking of the lightsaber fighting, Revenge of the Sith, things get escalated in a huge way fighting wise. You kind of go crazy in this one. Were there any particular fight scenes that were especially challenging?
I mean, the one that Ewan and I did at the end, our battle on Mustafar, that was
In the fire.
something that we were really looking forward to getting to do. From the get-go, we knew that there was going to be this big conflict between Anakin and Obi-Wan that was going to result in a sort of epic lightsaber battle. And so when it came time to do it, when we got to Sydney, Australia, to start work on episode 3, Ewan and I spent a lot of time, like months, training and practicing, trying to get that fight to be as good as it could be. And Nick Gillard, the fight choreographer, and his team he did an amazing job and really told the story in that fight. And I'm very proud of the work that we got to do there.
Absolutely. Make some noise one more time. Really a wonderful experience to watch. By chance, do you watch those particular fight scenes and kind of go back to remembering what it was like to film it?
I don't typically watch films that I've been in, but when I'm coming back to play Anakin again, I do kind of want to give myself a bit of a refresher.
All right.
So I do every now and then watch episode 3 and the fight that Ewan and I did, and it's it's a sort of a trip down memory lane for me because it recalls all these sort of great memories you had when you were filming, and I love Ewan, so it was just an amazing thing that we got to create that together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just on the side, you should definitely watch the movies you're in. You're kind of amazing.
Yes, you are.
I do love the Star Wars films, and so I enjoy getting to sort of go back and watch them again when I've come back to do the Obi-Wan show and now Ahsoka.
Yeah! Ahsoka 2! Yeah, Ahsoka 2.
Season 2, yeah.
Yep.
Just you wait.
Allegedly, Disney. Allegedly.
They didn't hear us.
Obviously, with this series, there's so many different cool props and things like that. If you were gifted one, what would be the one prop that you would love to have had from off set?
I would have loved to have gotten a Darth Vader helmet.
You didn't get a Darth Vader?
Come on, man.
Maybe one day. There's still time. Yeah.
Official Darth Vader helmet from Disney. I know everyone in this room is like, I'll buy you a Darth Vader helmet. I'll do that. That's fair. I love it. Okay, so after returning to the Star Wars universe in Obi-Wan, it's so cool, so freaking cool. What was a surprise meaning, or I don't want to say this, to get back into it? You are answering kind of the call of every fan that
Yes, you are.
So far, right? What's it like to know that you are really bringing that fandom to a head by coming back to something that meant so much to all of us?
It's just such a privilege. To be a part of Star Wars is an amazing thing, and it's because of all of you guys and what the films mean to you and what these characters mean to you. And so to get to come back to it for Obi-Wan was a very meaningful thing for me, and the work that I got to do on that show. I think it's bedtime. The work that we got to do on Obi-Wan, I just thought was wonderful. That end scene between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan when he cracks Vader's helmet. That for me was huge because it was a side of the character that I hadn't yet gotten to explore, and the way it sort of depicted the destruction of that relationship, I thought was just really beautifully done, and it was such a nicely written scene, and the way it came to life, it was just, it all kind of, was really perfect, and I was happy with that.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
We have a handful of fan submitted questions that I want to throw at you. This one's from Maya. If you could play any other Star Wars character besides Anakin and Vader, who would you choose and why?
Well, I said I was a big fan of Boba Fett. I remember when they were auditioning for Anakin, and I first got the call from my agent saying that, we've submitted you for the Anakin Skywalker role. I was like, that's nice of you. I appreciate it, but like, that's never gonna happen. So is there another part that you could put me up for? And I remember thinking like, if there's a young Boba Fett or something, that would be cool. So I would go with Boba Fett probably.
Okay, I like that. Good choice.
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, did your agent, when you got the role, go, "We told you"?
I don't remember them saying that,
That's how you say
but yeah,
it.
but they were very happy for me.
Absolutely. This one's from Sarah. Sarah wants to know which Star Wars co-star made you laugh the most on set.
Oh, definitely Ewan. Yeah, I mean, he just has a wonderful sense of humor, and he was always making me laugh, and just brought a nice kind of levity to the set when it was needed, and that always sort of stuck with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Lewis from Portland wants to know which was harder as an actor, learning complex fight choreography or performing heavy emotional scenes?
Well, I guess if you gauge it by the amount of sort of preparation that went into it, definitely the fight scenes.
Okay.
And also because I had no experience with fighting with a sword or a lightsaber before, so that was just a new skill that I had to learn. But there were some, challenging emotional scenes too. Like when we were doing episode 2, I remember the scene where Anakin's with Padme and he confesses to slaughtering the Sand People.
He deserved it.
That was a challenging one. But they each have their sort of their own unique challenges. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I love it. This one's from Rachel from Boston. Is there another major franchise or comic book character you'd be interested in portraying?
Not that I've thought about. I don't know. I feel so fortunate for getting to play, Anakin and be a part of Star Wars, and I'm very happy to sort of have that kind of that niche carved out for myself. And but that said, if there was another opportunity to to do something else, and the character spoke to me, you know, I would of course be up for it, but no, I'm happy with Anakin.
He's good.
That's fair. I think that makes us very, very happy as well. This next one is from Kevin from Baltimore. Has playing Vader changed the kinds of roles that you're drawn to?
Perhaps when I was a bit younger, I was maybe more drawn to sort of some darker roles, just because I spent sort of, you know, a good few years in sort of the Anakin headspace, and I'm sure that kind of that informed the sort of the other work that I was kind of more interested in. But now as I've gotten older, I think, and having become a father, that perhaps makes me want to play some roles that aren't quite as dark, and I'd love to get to do something that my daughter can watch and enjoy. So we'll see.
You see how you brought balance to the Force? You see it? You got it! That's awesome! That's what I'm talking about. Okay, before we let you get out of here, we got some rapid fire questions for you.
All right, let's do it.
Ready? Favorite lightsaber color?
Red.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jedi robes or Mandalorian armor?
Ha.
Jedi robes.
Okay. This one's kind of messed up. Who is the best Jedi Master? Wait. I have options here, just to make it fair. Mace Windu or Yoda?
Oh, that's easy. Yoda. Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan wasn't an option. You know, both great Jedi Masters, obviously. You know, I feel like they maybe both could have supported Anakin. Helpful.
You cut one of their hands off. Yeah, you cut Windu's hand off.
This is true.
He's still alive, right?
But no, they're both great. I'm not
Okay,
picking
all
them.
right.
Yeah.
That's very fair. I like that one. Who is messier, R2-D2 or C-3PO?
Both a bit messy, I guess. I'm gonna go with, I don't know.
You love
I'm gonna go with
3PO.
C-3PO just because when we were filming it was I guess a difficult costume for Anthony Daniels to see out of. And so every now and then, he would just kind of go over. And you couldn't help but have like a little bit of a chuckle. And then you'd go and help him up. But I always enjoyed that, and it always made me laugh.
You had to get the laugh out. You didn't laugh at his face, that'd be rude. Okay, which would you rather? Be really skilled with a lightsaber or really skilled with the Force?
Really skilled with the Force.
Yes, sir. You are.
Absolutely you are.
What's that?
You are.
Oh, thank you.
At both.
Would Darth Vader be a cat person or a dog
Oh.
person?
Cat.
Well, I'm allergic to cats. So, definitely a dog person.
Even
No
if
one
it's
likes
so cold,
cats.
He's got ventilation. You might be safe from it.
The suit with the suit on.
Star Destroyer or Death Star?
Death Star.
Yeah, I like that. He's got a cool
Last
voice,
one.
man.
Would you rather join the rebellion or fight for the Empire?
Fight for the Empire.
Yeah!
Absolutely amazing. Thanks for Chicago. Join me one more time in celebration.
Chosen one.
Mr. Hayden Christensen.
Chosen one. Another one.
It's been an absolute pleasure. One more time.
Thank you, Hayden.
Guys, thank you so very much. We appreciate you. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal this weekend. So very wonderful. Make some noise for everybody in this room one more time.